Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about the approaches of different decks, tarot decks specifically. And if you're watching from this website and you're interested to see the free sample readings, if that's what you're watching the show for, just feel free to skip ahead about 10-20 minutes into the video. I will be offering some free short readings to live viewers of this broadcast. To give some time for those live viewers to join the event, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's new at Stafford Tarot and some of the upcoming events that I have to look forward to. If anyone is interested in the free readings and you're watching the video tonight, please feel free to just write interested in the chat, and I will be watching for that to come up on the screen and I will add you to the list. I am capping tonight's readings to 6 free short distant readings tonight. Each short reading takes about 15 minutes to get through, and so, or 10 to 15 minutes to get through. And so I'm going to try to limit this length of this broadcast to about 2 hours. I think that's reasonable. So just let me know if anyone's interested. Like I said, while I'm allowing some people to catch that I've gone live and joining me on this event, I'm just going to speak about what's new. Of course, if you're ever wondering what's new with me, you can always check the website. The website is always kept up to date. On the website, you can watch videos, you can read about the tarot and oracle decks that I use, you can read the blog that I write, or you can even look at the section on the website to learn to do tarot for yourself if you're interested. There's lots of other options and information available on that website, www.staffordtarot.com. Feel free to check it out. If you have any questions, there's a frequently asked questions page, and of course my terms of service page has been updated and it's also on display on my website. Feel free to contact me if there's any information or if, that you require or am wondering, or if you have any questions. I'm totally open and free to if you have any questions about me or any of my services. And also, right from the website, you can send me contact. There are email forms and even a little Let's Chat button that shows up on the bottom of the screen. And if you click on that, it opens a text message dialogue, and we can even chat back and forth in real time. So congratulations to the winners of the most recent draw that took place on July 17th. My next draw is happening on August 21st. How do you get involved? You simply like, comment, or share any of the social media posts that mention the draw. Before the draw, so before August 21st, I will be looking at all of the social media posts, collecting all the names. I literally write in a list, I cut them into sections, I put them in a hat, and I literally draw them from a hat. I pick 1 to 5 winners. So what that means is that if I get 1 to 5 people, I pick 1 winner. If I get up to 10 people, like between 5 and 10 people, then I pick 2 winners. If I get between 10 and 15, I pick 3, etc. And I keep doing that depending on the number of participants in the draw. I always choose 1 to 5 ratio of winners at least, and that's just to keep it fair. Anyone who requests a free reading from me is automatically included in the draw, and so I like to keep those odds up for anyone who's interested. Feel free to check that out, or you can always just contact me directly and just let me know that you're interested in a free reading, and I will add you to that draw. As usual, I will be offering free readings at this a live event in a moment. I'm just going to give a little bit more time for some to join us. The upcoming events to look forward to, of course, the moon oracle pulls will be continuing. The full blue moon is happening on August 30th, and then after that, the next moon phase for the new moon, I'll have an oracle pull for September 14th. It's always posted on my website. I do mention it on some social media here and there, but if you're ever interested, it's always posted on my website and regularly. It happens every 2 weeks. Then I have some upcoming events and markets that I'm looking forward to attending. I'm at the Fairy and Witches Market on Saturday, August 26th from 4 to 10 p.m. This is going to be happening in Fergus, Ontario. It's a market hosted by Luna Events Canada. They do an excellent job. There's like 40 plus vendors that are going to be there. Really skilled vendors, all sorts of different varieties and diverse things to check out there. So check that out. And then I'm also going to be attending the Clogs and Clockwork Festival on Saturday, September 9th. It's going to be running from 9 a.m. from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that's also happening in Fergus, Ontario, hosted by the Fergus Steampunk Festival. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to be involved in this. All of the addresses and details that you need are available on my website. Just check out the event announcements section and you can click on the event details for more information. And then my next Tarot Talk Live event is going to be happening on Tuesday, September 12th, 8 p.m. start time, similar to tonight. You can join through my Facebook page, the Bryan Tarot Reading. The link is on my website. And the topic for then, on Tuesday, September 12th, is going to be about intuitive reading style and how my intuitive reading style is mixed with my intuition and symbolic and traditional style of tarot reading. So please join. As always, at these live events, I offer free short readings. So if you're interested, you can join me then, or please join me on September 12th. Or if you're attending tonight's live, just let me know that you're interested by writing interested in the chat, and I will notice and write you on the list. For anyone who's interested, as I mentioned earlier, I am capping the readings tonight to 6 free readings. They are short readings. Each one takes about 10 to 15 minutes to do. And so I am capping the readings tonight to 6 readings so that I can keep the broadcast under 2 hours in length. So if anyone's interested, just let me know. I can see some people already here. Hello. Hi, Arissa and Jennifer. I will definitely add you in the list. And anyone else who's watching and interested, just let me know in the chat, and I will add you to the list as well. So tonight's Tarot Talk topic is about approaches of different decks and why different decks have different approaches. One of the reasons is because different decks with different approaches can offer different perspectives and insight depending on how the deck is steering you to look at either the question or topic that's been asked. Different decks have different approaches to them, and so I approach the different decks with that in mind. Similar to most tarot decks are based on the standard tarot structure of the Rider-Waite with Smith drawings, like the very traditional standard tarot deck. This is probably I think it's the first, and so it's the most longest used tarot deck. And I'm just going to talk about one card specifically from each of some of the tarot decks that I have, and talk about the differences of that card to give an example of the approach that the decks give. Now, one of the most harshest messages to receive from the tarot deck, in my opinion, is when there's a drastic change, when something has to end for something new to begin. And of course, I'm talking about what comes up often, the Death card. I like talking about this card not only because it has very significant meaning in tarot readings when it shows up, but also it is a very widely recognized card by people who are familiar with tarot. And even if you don't give tarot readings, or you're not familiar with doing tarot readings for yourself, or you're not very familiar with tarot decks, most people are familiar with the Death card. And that card looks like this. This is the standard drawing, the Smith drawing of the tarot deck for the Rider-Waite symbolisms. And like I said, it's the death card, and so it's labeled death. It's the 13th higher arcana card, and you can see here that it's depicting sort of death coming after life. A lot of times the death card, even though it's not about mortality like passing away, they use life and death as a symbolism of the card to express something ending for something new to begin. And the reason why that drastic meaning is used is because that's how drastic the change is. We're talking something completely being obliterated or basically put to death in order for new life to begin. And so with that in mind, they look at it in terms of like life and death and reincarnation. In order to go on to the next life, you have to pass away from this one. So ending this to move on to something else. And so that's usually the symbolisms that are used in that, in most tarot. And this is my Morgan Greer deck. This is what the deck looks like. And this is the death card in the Morgan Greer deck. Very similar symbology. You can see that it's more focused on like the actual Grim Reaper type death and the romance around death, the feelings around that, sorrow, etc. And it's really just depicting, again, a different way of looking at that change of something ending for something new to begin. Excuse me. And a lot of decks pick up on that symbolisms. So you can see here from my Ethereal Kin deck, that same kind of symbology is used, where it's really about the death and the cycles of life and death, with the moon in the background meaning cycles, and the skull meaning death, and the bird, like the life coming from that. Whereas other decks take it into a different direction. This is my Pagan deck, and it uses the thought and expression of a transformation, or of a change where something ends for something new to begin, as sort of an initiation. You have to, when you go through a pagan initiation, you usually have to let go of who you were to step into who you've become. And it's that similar kind of letting go of something for something new to begin. And that transformation is often highlighted in tarot decks if they're not following the standard Rider-Waite symbolisms or the Smith drawings. And this is a good example of that. This is the Zen deck that was created by Osho, and they more look at this as transformation, and the transformation of moving from something that you've had to let go to something new. And here's another example, and this is the equivalent to the death card. Very similar in this card of the cycle of death in life and rebirth. And again, the different approach to this deck versus this deck is very different, but has a very similar meaning to it. So when we look at that change of letting go of something to move on to something new, it's usually looked at as a release instead of a death, like it's a releasing of. Even in death, we have to let go of in our grief. And so it's just another way of looking at it. Now, the differences between the Ethereal deck and the Heart Chakra deck, the Heart Chakra takes a much more caring, gentle approach to the message, whereas the Ethereal deck is very sort of to the point in terms of the personality of the person I'm reading for. And some decks will use the same symbolisms but tone it down. This is my Youth deck, and it follows the same symbolisms of Rider-Waite with Smith diagrams, but puts it into a different perspective. So in terms of the Death card, they've changed it to be more about the change, the transformation, the moving on from and letting go. If you had experienced a death in your life, you'd be going through this change. If you've experienced a death in your life as a youth, you'd be going through this change, this transformation. And that's really what this card is all about after all. So the same message can be described from different perspectives from the different decks. And so I try to approach the different decks from the perspective that they offer. So an example of that is if someone came up to me and said, you know, that it's their birthday, and I was at a market and they told me it was their birthday, I often offer them a free mini reading for their birthday just for the occasion. And because it's a birthday, what better way to celebrate your birthday than to know what you need for yourself? And so I like to use my heart chakra deck because that's exactly the approach that this deck takes, what you need for yourself from a heart chakra standpoint. So as you saw in the death card, it's taking a very caring, more calming approach to the message of that release and moving on from in terms of the death card. And so I'll often use that for a birthday reading or anniversary readings because it gives you what you need to hear, what you need for yourself. Hi Tara, thanks for joining. I really appreciate that. Thank you everybody. I can see some more people joining, and that's great. If anyone has any questions about the Tarot Talk topic tonight, approaches to the different decks, just feel free to write it into the chat. Or if you are interested to receive those free short distant readings tonight during the live event, just write interested in the chat and I will add you to the list. I already have 2 people on the list, and we're going to be starting those readings in just a moment. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I think what I'll do is I'll just get started into those free readings tonight. I think that the free readings are always a great example of anything that the cards can describe, or looking at them from different perspectives. And so I'm going to try to implement that as best as I can into the free readings tonight. Thank you, Tara. I've added you to the list because I saw you wrote interested in the chat, and anyone else who's interested, just let me know and I will also add you to the list, and you'll be next in the list. Right now I have 3 people. So Arissa, if you're there and available, I will start with you. Now, I always start my readings with a 1-card impression pull from the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This is the very first deck I ever worked with and learned before I moved on with learning and creating relationships with other decks. And so I always like to start with an impression pull from this deck. I did do a previous Tarot Talk topic on impression pulls. If you're interested in that, you can always check my website and go back and look at the previous Tarot Talk topics. There's all sorts of different topics that I've looked at, including like mediumship with the cards and different styles of readings, approaches to tarot readers, like red flags you need to watch for, that kind of stuff. Just all sorts of different topics if you're interested. And thank you, Arissa. Now, I just see a question here. Do you protect yourself before using your tarot deck? Actually, I do. I do set my protections up, and what that means is that I just cleanse the area so that energies are not interfering with the reading of where I'm doing the reading itself. I also cleanse each deck. You'll notice here that I have crystals set on each deck between their uses, and I will often do that between tarot readings where the decks are sort of being cleansed by that crystal. I also clear and cleanse the deck with my own energy between each readings. So as I pick up a deck, I automatically will start shuffling, and that is me cleansing the deck and releasing any energies from the deck. And then when I connect with the person I'm reading for, which I consider like my sitter or the person that I'm connecting with, the person that I'm doing readings for, I connect with their energy and charge the energy into the deck as I'm shuffling and focusing on their topic or question. And then at the end of the reading, I clear each deck that I've used. So I hope that answers your question, Jennifer. Yes, the Rider-Waite has always been captivating for me as well, Tara, and so thank you for that comment. I also enjoy that one the most because it is usually that other decks are connected to those symbolisms. So if you can read Rider Wyatt symbolisms, or if you're familiar with Rider Wyatt tarot decks, you can read a lot of other styles of decks too and become more quickly familiar with the approach that deck is taking. Hi Alexandria, thanks for joining. I do hope your sound gets figured out. I see there that you can't hear on your end. I hope that gets figured out. I do have others, I believe, saying that they can hear me. Because I am getting responses in the chat. So it must be on your end. I do apologize for that. I hope that gets figured out. So Arissa, I'm going to be focusing on you. If you could let me know if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or if you want to leave it general. Quite often when readings are left general, the messages that need to be heard come out in the deck, come out on the table anyways, but it's up to you if you want to try and refine what you're looking for out of the reading. I'm just going to start the reading with a 1-card impression pull from this deck, and that's just going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck, this deck, where I will focus on your specific topic or question, or if you want to leave it general. Now, one of the things that I should have explained a little earlier in the broadcast, I usually do before I start the free readings, is that in the chat, sometimes there's like a 20 to 30 second delay in when the messages are written to when I can see them. I've learned this by watching my broadcasts after they've been completed and downloaded and reposted, and I rewatch them and I realize people post their questions before I can see them, like I'm responding 20 or 30 seconds delayed. And so just keep that in mind when you post something, if I'm taking a while to acknowledge, or if it seems like I'm not acknowledging you right away, it's just because it probably hasn't shown up yet on my end. Thank you, Arissa. I will definitely do a general guidance. So I'm just going to focus on you. And for you, Arissa, I get the 9 of Pentacles reversed. This is where you're sitting in the moment now. If the card looks like this, I like to call this sort of the prosperity card. It's sort of like when you have all your, or the luxury card. It's like when you have all your luxuries in your world, you know what your world should look like and how it fits. You can see from the image here that this lovely woman is in her fancy clothing, her fancy gown, and she's in some sort of like exotic garden, and she has this exotic pet, and you know, like everything that she would want in her world is pretty much put together. Now your card came out reversed. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to have everything in your world. It means you're going towards this, but you're not there yet. You're still in the process of putting those pieces together in the way that you want to see your world. And so I see you, Arissa, as being in this moment where you're in this transition of making your world look like what you want it to. So you're making changes, or you're maybe you have goals that you want to achieve, or you have things that you want to bring into your life, like you want to acquire things. And that's really what this card is about when it's reversed. It means that you're working on having everything in your world that you would like. Does that make sense for you? Let me know your thoughts on that in the chat, and I'm just going to focus on your reading. I'm focusing on just general guidance for you. Now, the one thing I notice, Arissa, when I connect your energy, and that this happens a lot because I'm connecting with your energy as I'm shuffling the cards, the cards seem like rigid. They're kind of hitting each other. They're like fighting each other, whereas sometimes I'll shuffle cards the exact same way, but the energy is different, and they're like flowy and smoothly going together. And these ones are feeling kind of rigid and rough. And what that sometimes tells me is like how it's like if I was doing an advice spread and this was happening, it would tell me sort of how cooperative the person would be following the advice. Or sometimes if I like to describe it as like the person I'm reading for could very well be their worst enemy in some way. So you're against yourself in some way. So I don't know if that's like a confidence thing or if that's just the energy that I'm picking up is sort of like you could believe in yourself more, or you could be more confident than you may be. Now the 3 cards that have came up are awesome guidance for the energies that I picked up. And that's because of the higher arcana card that showed up in the middle. And I will go through each card separately, but I just want to start here because I think this is a great card for you, Arissa, given how the cards were shuffling, in that it felt like there was this like you were sort of against yourself. And the Magician card is all about having all the tools that you need. There's no need to acquire all your tools. It would be reversed if that was the case. You'd need to acquire your tools and get ready, or get your things ready before you can proceed. You're basically ready to proceed. You have all your tools ready and you're ready to move on. And I think that that's a really good card to come out, given that you're putting your life together in the way that you see it. Now, the next card that grabs my attention is the 10 of Cups. I like to call this the bliss card. It's all about the like your emotions and being very happy, and your emotions are all organized and everything's sort of in place, and you're analyzing these sort of cups, because in tarot, cups represent emotion, and 10 is sort of like it reverts back in numerology to 1, which is like spiritual development, when you learn something and it comes back to the beginning again, or starts a new path, or it's really about that cycle. And so when you get that sort of realization with emotion, quite often it's this happy, blissful, everything's in check. And I really think that that's because I was focusing on sort of general guidance. I feel like this is the guidance of saying, you know, you have all the tools you need and you can create your own happiness. Now there's the Page of Pentacles reversed. And what this card often represents is not getting onto a new path in terms of finances. I do get the sense that this is about finances more than health, and that's because what's standing out for me is the coin itself. And when the coin on a pentacle stands out, it's often about money, finances, job, opportunity of some sort. And it's reversed, meaning that because this was a guidance spread, it's really saying not to get on that new path of finances. So you may want to be trying to keep things the way they are, or keeping things from changing from the standard or the structure that's already in place. Let me know, Arissa, if this makes sense for you. I would like to extend a little further on this reading to help you out if you're interested in either some advice moving forward because you were looking for guidance. One deck that I have in particular that gives really great guidance advice, well, 2 decks actually, are one of these 2 decks. This is my Pagan deck, and it gives great advice because it uses the approach of mixing in different aspects of life. So like personal life versus work life, or tradition versus busyness, or you know, just different ways of balancing. And so that might be a way of, I think that's where I'm going to go with this. And then I'll move to this deck if we have time. And this deck is my Witch's Wisdom deck. It really digs deep in terms of what messages need to be heard. And so it takes a more in-depth approach to its meanings. And I'm going to use that as a final, I think, 1 card pull for help in any clarity. So Arissa, I'm just going to focus on that using this deck, the Pagan deck, and I'm just keeping in mind that general guidance, but with the cards that have come out here, and just asking for advice moving forward. I'm just asking this deck for advice in terms of the balance that's required of what's being described here. Thank you, Janet. I will definitely add you to the list. So you'll be fourth in the list. I'm just doing the first reading now, and anyone else who's interested, just let me know. I should also mention that if at any time I miss a name, if you've said in the chat, please don't hesitate to repeat and respond and confirm that you've been added to the list, so that I can just make sure the list is accurate. Or also, anyone that I have missed, if that unfortunately happens just because of either there's a delay, or I've even at previous Tarot Talk live events, there have been some messages that didn't even show up during the live, and I saw them after when I was re-watching or reviewing the broadcast. After it was recorded and posted. And so if that ever happens and I notice that someone was missed, it's happened twice in the past, how long have I been doing this? 16 months now. It's happened twice where the messages didn't come up, and so I automatically connected with that person and offered them free readings outside of the broadcast to make up for the lost opportunity. They came to the event to receive the readings. I so appreciate when people come to the event, and so I don't want people to miss out. And so anyone, just let me know, and if it ever happens to you, just get in contact with me. Reach out to me through email or through Facebook or through my website or through my phone. My phone number's on my website as well. Hi Cynthia, how are you? Thanks for joining. Hi Anna. Definitely, I will add you to the list. Now, Anna, you may have about a 45-minute wait or so, as I'm just getting through the first reading, and you're fifth on the list, and so just stick with me, or check in, and I will check it, let you know when it's your turn. So in the list right now, I'm doing Arissa's reading, and then I have Jennifer, Tara, Janet, and Anna. So I have one more spot available if anyone's interested in receiving a reading tonight. And if anyone else was hoping to receive a reading and the spots get full, because I am capping tonight to 6 short readings, if anyone else is interested but you don't get in, please just let me know that you're still interested, because I will automatically include you into the draw that's coming on August 21st. So you'll still have a chance to get a free reading, and those free readings are different from this, because during the live broadcast it's a distant reading, meaning that we're not one-on-one and I can't like speak to you, we can't have like a conversation, I'm just getting messages through a chat. So I have like a distant, I focus a lot with my crystal ball to get the energy connection, and it's a very distant connection. Whereas in a Zoom call that you receive in the free readings that you win in the draw, it's a one-on-one interaction. So it's a remote reading. And so it's not as distant, if that makes any sense. Definitely, Cynthia, I'll add you to the list. So that's the 6 capped readings. So anyone else who is interested to receive a reading, please just let me know, and I will include you in the draw that's coming up. So Arissa, coming back to your reading, I'm just connecting again with the energy of where you're sitting in the moment, plus the messages that have come out. And I'm focusing on asking this deck for that advice. Now, the advice that I get is really interesting, and I'm gonna go through each card, but the one that's standing out for me is the one in the middle, and it's the 6 of Swords, and it looks like this, and it really represents when you have to escape from something or a situation, or when you're moving on from something. You have to decide what thoughts you take with you and what thoughts you leave behind. What are those heavy thoughts and intellectual processes that are going on in whatever journey you're on that's being represented here, where you have all the tools that you need and you're pretty much ready to go, but keeping things the way they are. What this is showing is making a change and moving on from something. So there could be something from your past or something that you've been through that is on your mind, and that you have to sort through what serves you from that and what doesn't, and what you need to let go of. Now, the Five of Pentacles is a very similar message, because 5 in numerology is sort of a halfway point with a choice. Whereas the Six of Swords, 6 in numerology, is like how we interact with the people around us. And when that usually mixes with heavy thoughts and intellect, it's usually about protecting or doing what we can, moving on from some sort of danger or situation. You can see from the card, just going back to that for a moment, you can see from the card that they're showing it as a like burning village, and they're kind of escaping this other whatever they're moving on from. Now, in terms of the Five of Pentacles, which looks like this, it's really about a choice. And Pentacles is about money and finances. And I can see here that she's kind of grasping a pentacle or a coin, and that's really standing out for me in the image itself. And it looks like she's in sort of a lineup of a bank, like she's got financial choices to make and creating that balancing. And I definitely see that being part of the advice for you, Arissa, is that, deciding what works for you, what doesn't, and making that financial balance. Now, the Ten of Swords is also on the table in terms of this advice. And the Ten of Swords often represents when you have so much on your mind. 10 in numerology is like the end of a path, when you accomplish something and it leads you back to a beginning or a restart. And so this is about spiritual development for you in what doesn't serve you, and letting go of these heavy thoughts and intellect that no longer serve you. You've been there, done that, move on from it type of attitude. And I see that in continuation with the cards in your reading. So, for example, the Page of Pentacles reversed, basically describing how you shouldn't get onto some new financial path, and then the Swords basically saying, been there, done that, and to focus on what serves you and what doesn't. That's kind of standing out to me as being a connection here, that those are connected. I really think that if you can get this balance in check, that's going to turn this card around, where you're going to be them actually in the process of putting your life together and completing in the way that you'd like to see it. But right now it's reversed, meaning that that's still going on. I just see some messages coming up. Oh, thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate that, you pointing that out. No worries about that. I will just add Sabrina to the list. Sabrina, if you're still on the call, I'm just going to add you to the list, and we'll just continue from there. So, Tara, no need to give up your spot or anything. I'm just going to do that extra spot tonight. I just want to make sure that I catch everyone who was interested, but I am capping from this point. So, because I don't want the broadcast to go too long. But if anyone else may have been missed, simply let me know, and I will catch up with you after the broadcast for sure. Hi, Neva. Thanks for joining. No worries, Sabrina. I'm glad that your message was caught. So, Arissa, I'm sorry for the interruption to your reading. Let me know if this makes sense or if this is connecting with you. I am going to do just one pull from this deck. I'd like to get some clarity on what the general guidance was, the general guidance of this reading. I'd like to get a little bit more specific on that, to what message needs to be heard in terms of that, what's going on in terms of that guidance that's needed. I think that's just going to add a little bit more clarity, because with this deck kind of digs deep, and it really reaches for the messages that need to be heard. And so I'm going to use that deck just for a one-card pull to get a little bit of a extension on the guidance that we're talking about here. So the card that came out is the Three of Air reversed. I definitely see this as being connected again with the Page of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords, and now the Three of Air reversed. in the way that if it was this way, it would mean escaping turbulent waters, right? You can see that these exotic birds were on this island. You can see their footsteps. They were there, and the waters got rough and they flew away. It's sort of like escaping exotic waters. It's very relevant to this card. Very relevant to this card, right? In the sense of not getting on that new path. I think that new path has to do with this turbulent waters. I think what you're escaping, it just goes to show again that you really need to process what you're moving on from and what you can take with you and moving forward. I hope that that makes sense, Arissa. Oh, hi, Kim. Thank you for explaining that. I already have my 6 free readings capped for tonight, and so if you'd like to be included in the draw, I could definitely include you in the draw. That's coming up on August 21st. And I'll write that it's Kim. If you are the winner of the draw, just check your Facebook messages on the morning of August 21st, and you'll be included in that draw. And because you showed interest on the Facebook Live, if you're a winner, I'll get back to you on Facebook, probably through the Messenger, because it's more private, more direct. So thank you so much, Arissa. Let me know if you have any questions about that. You can always, I haven't heard or seen messages from you since the reading started, so I hope that you're there and that you were able to get these messages. You can always come back and watch the live once it's posted to get those messages again. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Arissa. I see you there. I see your message there. Awesome. Okay. And thank you for that confirmation. I appreciate that it makes total sense. It just lets me know that I was on the right track with your reading. And I'm just going to clear and thank the decks, and then I will move on to Jennifer. Jennifer, if you're on the call, just let me know. And if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on for the reading, or left general, similar to Arissa's reading. Sometimes when the readings are left general, as I mentioned, then the messages that need to be heard come out anyways. But sometimes people would like to direct what they're more refine what they're looking for. Definitely, Tara. I'll add your friend to the draw. As long as I can reach them through Facebook under that name, then I will definitely reach out to them, and I'll make sure that I have the right person, because they'll be a friend of yours. Perfect. Okay, Jennifer, thank you so much. And a general reading, absolutely. I always start my readings with a 1-card impression pull from this deck, and then I move on to other decks. I am a trans-dimensional intuitive reader, and so that just means that I use different dimensions of different decks within one reading session itself. And I did do a previous Tarot Talk topic on that, being a trans-dimensional reader. If you're interested, you can go way back to like a year ago when I talked about that topic. So Jennifer, for you, I get the Magician card. We talked a little bit about this card as it came up in a previous reading tonight, but as the impression pull for you, I get that you in the moment have all the tools that you need to whatever it is that's happening for you in the moment. So I get this as you're sitting in probably a very confident place right now. If something's going on that you're unsure about, just know that you have all the tools and things that you need to take care of it or to take it on. Let me know your thoughts on that. And I'm just going to start with your general 3-card pull from this deck. This is my Morgan Greer deck. I like to use this deck because it follows the same symbolisms of the Rider-Waite, but they're a little more updated and modern looking, and I find them a bit more calming to use within readings for others. I feel like the deck's telling me that they're ready. Okay, and for you, Jennifer, 3 cards have come out. First of all, 2 are pentacles and 1 is a cup. And the cup is bookended by the pentacles. And I do get a sense that the pentacles are about health, not so much money. Given that what's standing out for me in the pentacle, well, I'll describe each card as I hold them up. But I'm going to start in the cup, in the center. Now, another thing that I've noticed is that all 3 cards have come out reversed. And so that just means that these messages, that this is a hard path to be on, or not an easy trek to take. And the first card I want to focus on is the Page of Cups. It's reversed. Normally the card looks like this, and it really represents, when it looks like this, it really represents sort of like lightening up, using some silliness, immaturity, joking around. When it's reversed like this, it's sort of the opposite of that. It's like you need to, be more structured, no joking or kidding around, being more stern or taking things more seriously. And that's how it's come out in this, is that the general message around this is having to take things more seriously. Now, the 2 other cards that I feel like are sort of speaking together in terms of health are the 8 of Pentacles reversed and the 10 of Pentacles reversed. And both cards look like this. Now, the 10 of Pentacles, when it looks like this, it often represents gaining something from family or a connection with family. If this card meant money or finances, it often represents an inheritance of some kind, or like money being passed down. When it's reversed, it's sort of like not having it passed down. And because health is standing out for me more than Pentacles, and the reason being is that it's the cape on the people and the flag is standing out for me much more prominently than the coins or the hats in the image. Usually when the coins or hats stand out for me, it's like this is obviously finances or economic or prosperity. When it's not that case, when other things stand out for me, like the brick as well, like the foundation, the clothing, the flags, the material, it's often representative of health. And I feel like that's where this is going with this. Okay, makes sense to me. I don't think that this is a health matter that will be passed down to you, but that is happening more so around you rather than directly involved, if that makes sense. And then this, the 8 of Pentacles reversed. What's standing out for me in this picture is the man's muscle and arm. Getting to work and putting in the strength. It's not so much about the coins or the work that's involved, but about the process of it. I really feel like what this is really saying is that you can't put the work in. If it was like this, it would be like put the work in, get the work done, all this work that needs to be done. When it's reversed like this, it's like take a step back. You've done the work, or the work is not required right now, or you're putting more rush on it than what's needed. So keep that in mind. Often when that's regarding health, it can mean that you could be hard on yourself or putting too much strain on yourself, or that you need to just kind of settle down a little bit. Now, when these 3 cards, when I look at them together with the, no longer kidding around or taking things more seriously, not having to really put in the work, and then this health that's family connected health that's happening around you. I'm wondering if this is a situation that's happening that's really putting things in perspective for you. That's why the Page of Cups is reversed. It's like being reminded or realizing the important things in life, or the way that those situations of other people can affect you in the way that you look at things from your own perspective. Does that make sense, Jennifer? Just reading the messages that have come. Okay, right. Okay, good. So thank you for that confirmation. I appreciate that I'm on the right track in this reading. I'm going to extend on this reading a little further, given that it is about health, and you've sort of confirmed that it's a family member's health. I'm wondering, Jennifer, if I could expand on that a little further in terms of what you need for yourself and how this is affecting you. I could use my heart chakra deck for that. I think that would give a good advice moving forward on what you need for yourself in terms of what's happening around. So I'm just going to charge the intention into that deck, and keeping in mind you're reading right from the start. So what's really interesting about the advice that's come out in this reading, Jennifer, is that 2 higher arcana cards have bookended the 3 cards that have come out. And the one in the middle, I really think I really feel like these 2 are reversed and they're speaking together. So I'm going to start over here. And this is the Confront card. It's number 18 in the Oracle style of this deck. Excuse me. And I often look at it like self-comfort in a way, because you're really confronting some part of yourself. As you can see from the image here, this person is confronting a shadow in a doorway, and it's like night and day. And quite often this can be like confronting our own shadows, the parts of us that we don't expose to others around us. And so it's like something inside you is being confronted, or you're having to confront something inside you in terms of what's happening here. And I really feel like that's just explaining part of the process that you're going through. Now, I think these 2 cards are speaking together, and so I'm going to show them together. This is the Observe card reversed. It's very similar to the tarot structure of the World card in a traditional tarot deck. And it really represents how we look at the world. That's why it's called the Observe card. And it's the different perspectives that we get from looking at the world from different viewpoints. And so when it's reversed like this, and it's in an advice column, it can often mean like maybe not looking around your world externally, but more so looking within. And I really think that goes hand in hand with the Confront card. But I feel like these 2 cards are speaking together in the sense of you can't observe your world from an external standpoint. You have to observe this from within, internally. And also, you can't take the lead on this. This isn't something that you can take the lead. And this can be a frustrating card to come up in this way when it's reversed, because it can often mean that you're pulled to take the lead, or that you're prevented from doing something, or that you may feel helpless in some way. And so they're changing your viewpoint, and feeling this way can be a lesson in itself. And then with this confronting a part of yourself internally with the Confront card, 18 in numerology breaks down to a 9. And so I feel like this is going to lead you into a direction. It's going to lead you to a goal, and you're going to reach that goal. Now, when I look at these readings, the cards that have come out so far, Jennifer, as a whole, this is not an easy path to be on. You only have 1 higher arcana card that's not reversed that's come out in the reading, not including the impression pull, but in the reading itself. 1 card as a higher arcana has come up, and the rest are reversed. And even in your initial 3-card pull, they're all reversed. And that just tells me of how challenging this is for you. It's not an easy path to walk. But I just want to highlight again that you have all the tools that you need. You have everything that's necessary to get through this. You just have to get through the process. So I do hope that that's helpful and that this makes sense, Jennifer. Let me know if you have any questions. I really would like to just take a moment or opportunity to just wish your family member well. Okay, thank you so much for that confirmation. I appreciate that. You're very welcome, Jennifer. So I'm just going to put the cards away and decharge the cards. And then Tara, if you're still on the call, let me know and I'll do your reading next. And Tara, if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on, just let me know, or I can keep it general and we'll see what comes up. Just going to decharge and thank the cards for their guidance. So as I was decharging this deck, Jennifer, I feel like this is just for you. These kind of popped out. And so I was decharging your energy. I hadn't started charging it yet, and these cards popped out. And these are what I consider these to be jumper cards. I did do a previous live topic on that. So if you're interested to know about it, you can always look back on my website on the previous topic, Tarot Talk event that talks about jumper cards. But I have to acknowledge this. I feel like they're important. And the 2 cards that have come out are the Death card and the 8 of Swords. Now, I don't want you to fret. The Death card, as I mentioned earlier, does not mean mortality. It means a complete change from something having to, go away or be removed for moving into a new space or moving into a new direction. And then the 8 of Swords is all about these heavy thoughts and intellect that are on your mind, and just these heavy thoughts are binding you down. And even if you could be a little blinded by some of it, if you could just remove some of the blindfold, you could gain more clarity and be able to sort out these heavy thoughts that are holding you back. I really feel like this is just describing the process that you're in a little further, Jennifer, and that the important message that needed to be delivered is to hang in there, that you're going through this drastic change, that if it feels like something is ending, it's for something new to begin. And so this card is coming up in this way to explain the challenges that you're up against, and that, the process that you're in, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I do hope that's helpful. And thank you, Tara. I see your comment there, and so I will focus on a general reading for you. I'm just connecting with your energy now, Tara, and I'm starting with a 1-card impression pull from my first original deck. And that's just going to tell me where you're sitting in the moment. And then I will move to my Morgan Greer deck, where I'll focus on your general question. I'll do a 3-card pull with that deck, and then we'll expand further depending on what we see as being an appropriate way to move forward in the reading. For you, Tara, I get the 9 of Cups. It did not come out reversed, and so this is the way that it looks. And often this card is showing this way when someone is in the process of putting their emotions in order. Cups in tarot represent emotions, so you can see here that this person sitting very confidently has all of their cups organized. If anything was to happen around them, they would know exactly where their emotions are and would be in check with their emotions and would be able to know how that would affect them, what they would do about it, how they're going to feel. And that's what this card represents. It's somebody who understands their emotions. You have your emotions in check, in a row. You have this understanding of yourself. And I feel like that's a great place to be in the moment. that you have this emotional understanding of yourself. Excuse me a moment. So let me know. Oh, awesome. Okay, definitely. Perfect. So I'm just going to continue with your reading, Tara. I feel like the cards are telling me to stop early. So the 3 cards are as shown. 1 is reversed, 2 is not. I'm going to start on this and work on this side and work my way across. I just feel like that's how the cards are speaking to me. And the first card I want to talk about is the King of Cups. As I mentioned already, cups in tarot are representing emotions and feelings. And kings in tarot, there's like a court structure to most tarot decks where the king and queen are sort of making the decisions and reigning over the kingdom, while the knights and the pages are the ones that deliver the messages and take action. And the king makes very important decisions that affect people around him, and there's often sacrifices involved. And these, with the King of Cups, these are emotional decisions. So these are decisions that need to be made that could be hard to make or that have consequences to them. So just keep that in mind when we talk about the King of Cups. It can often mean very hard decisions to make, or that decisions to be made, but they're hard to deal with the consequences of those decisions. The next card is the 9 of Swords. And it's represented like this. Swords in tarot represent heavy thoughts and intellect, and 9 is when we get to the end of a path. And quite often when we mix the end of a path with swords, heavy thoughts, and intellect, it can mean like a struggle, like it took so much to get there. And that's really what this is explaining, is all these heavy thoughts are binding your hands. They're stopping you from this action. And so the more you sort through these heavy thoughts, the more you'll be able to take action, the less you'll be bound. I think this is just explaining that you're in the process of sorting out these heavy thoughts. And I think given that you're in the position of knowing your emotions, it just says to me that you're in the right frame of mind to do this. You're in the right mindset to be able to do the hard work that's needed, because when you tackle those heavy thoughts and intellect, you have the backup of your emotions. And that's what this card is really saying in the end. The last card that I want to talk about is the Ace of Cups reversed, meaning that you don't need to realize this new emotion. You don't need to discover a new way to feel. If it was this way, that's what it would mean, that you need to discover there's this new emotion, this new way to feel. It's saying, no, you accept what you're feeling for what it is. And I think that's just because you know so well there's no need to feel any different. Now, when I look at these 3 cards together, you're sort of bookended with emotion. You have the King of Cups on one side, and you have the Ace of Cups on the other. What I find really interesting about that is that there's a progression being shown. Ace is the beginning, King is the end, right? The highest card in the suit is the King, and the lowest card where you would get started is the Ace. Now, it's not, when I feel drawn to go in this order from the King down to the Ace, it's almost like a reversal rather than a build up. It's a build down. And I think that's just speaking to the direction that you're headed. You're not going in an external direction, you're going in an internal direction. You're moving from 10 to 1, right? So you're going internal. It's really about like the processes of the shadow and realizing where you sit in your own. Does that make sense for you, Tara? Oh, okay. I see. Yes, that would make sense. Hiding for the new start and taking you so long to get there. I definitely would see this as a journey, and that this would be like the end of a path, because you have 9, you have the King, and then it leads from the Ace. So I really see that as being like this incredible developmental, spiritual, probably connective path or journey that you're on. I'm wondering how we can extend on this further. It seems like you're in the process of working through these heavy thoughts, and that's going to help you remove some of those binds. I'm wondering if, just trying to get a sense of which deck we could extend further. If you feel like, I just saw your comment there about feeling like you're going through a bit of an awakening. I'm wondering if it would be helpful to use my Sacred Destiny deck. This deck works really great in terms of pinpointing the portion of life path that we're walking. And if we can pinpoint the portion of life path that we're walking, we can often look at the scenario or situation that we're going through, and it can make much more sense why that's happening. This deck often reminds me of that expression, the journey is often the lesson itself. Whereas you have to go through the lesson, or you have to go through the journey to realize or learn the lesson involved. And that's where this deck can be helpful. If you can understand the portion of life path that you're walking that has to do with this reading, it might make sense why you're going through all this. Does that make sense for you, Tara? Let me know your thoughts. I'm just going to pull one card from this deck, and that's just going to tell me the portion of life path that you're walking. Now, quite often when I use this deck, the imagery is usually really connecting to the person I'm doing the reading for, more so than what I understand in its meaning of the card itself. So I will go through the meaning of the card, but I want you to look at the card that's chosen first to decide, to realize, the impact that it has on you before I talk about the card's meaning. Okay, and here's your card, Tara. And it says embracing along the bottom. Now, if there's anything that stands out for you in the imagery whatsoever, try and listen to your own intuition on what that says to you. What's really standing out for me is the sparky looking fireflies. And that just says to me about, quite often when I see that, I think of magic. And magic doesn't always have to be like when you think of like Hollywood fairy tales of like, you know, sparkles and having things appear with the snap of a finger. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is putting intention in to manifest. And that's what's standing out for me in this card. Now, the embracing card is often about embracing the moment that you're in. And I see that in the sense of if you were depicted as the bird or the crane that's in the image, and they're embracing the moment, the time of day, you know, what needs to be done in that moment. And it's not like they can fly to better security, so where they're at is where it is. And I just feel like that's what this card is really depicting, is you know, finding that security, finding your grounding, and finding your protections. And what's really standing out for me in this is manifestation in terms of those sparky looking fireflies. They more look like sparks than fireflies. I can't go any closer, but you can see what I mean there. Excuse me. Quite often when messages come out with this deck, it could mean perhaps that because in this life now, the portion of life path that you're walking is about embracing your own, embracing your abilities, embracing that manifestation within you. And so I feel like that's really what we're talking about, is this comfort with yourself, getting to know yourself better in that way. And that could mean that you were prevented from doing this in a previous life, if you follow or believe in like reincarnation, because the portion of life path that you're walking is about embracing yourself. You may have been prevented from embracing yourself in a previous life, and so you have this draw in this life to embrace. let me know if that makes sense, or if you feel that that's connected to what's happening in your reading here, Tara. I do get this sense of this journey and development on a path, and I really think you're in the right place to do this with your emotions all being in check. I do hope that this is helpful. Let me know your thoughts, Tara. And then I will move on to Janet. Janet, if you're ready to receive a short reading. I'm just waiting to see if there's any messages that will come up. And if you've already put in your messages and they haven't come up, like shown up on the screen yet, I apologize. Sometimes I feel like I'm just staring off at the screen going, where's the messages? And it's like, they've been posted, but I don't see them yet. Okay, thank you for that, Tara. I appreciate that. Now, you're very welcome. So I'm just going to clear and thank these decks. And then Janet, if you're on the call, just let me know that you're there. And I will start your reading with a one-card impression pull, as I have been. But if you want to give me a topic or question to focus on, you can do that, and I will charge the cards with that intention. Or if you want to leave it general, quite often when readings are left general, the messages that need to be heard, as I've said already, come up in the cards. So it's up to you. Hi Janet, thanks for letting me know. And thank you, Louise, for joining. Unfortunately, I've reached my cap for tonight. And so what I can do, though, is add you to the list for the free draw that's happening on August 21st. And that's a draw that has a chance to win a free remote reading. So that's more of a one-on-one reading over Zoom. So I'll definitely include you in that. And so because you showed interest on a Facebook Live event, if you win the draw on August 21st, I will respond to you on Facebook, either through probably Facebook Messenger, through a direct message, and then we'll organize that. So, Janet, I have the Knight of Cups for you in the position that you're sitting now. Now, the Knight of Cups, as I explained in the core structure of the tarot decks, the King and Queens are on the top making the decisions. The pages are the ones that get the messages of that decision to the action takers who are going to follow out. And those are the knights. The knights are the ones that that implement the actions into, implement the plans into action. And usually when we get knights taking action with cups based on emotion, it can mean like taking emotional action, or action that's really emotional to do or really hard to take. And that's where you're sitting now. You're sitting in this emotional place of action, having to either take action, or there's a decision of action, or beginning a path of like an emotional journey of some kind. I'm just focusing generally, as you've asked, Janet. Oh, you're welcome, Louise. And anyone else who's interested to join the draw, just let me know and I will add you to the list. Just 2 more times, because it's the way. Okay, and Janet, for you, we have similar messages that have been received tonight, which is really interesting, but from a different perspective, and I'll talk about that. First of all, the one thing that I want to point out is that all 3 cards have come out reversed. So that tells me right away, Janet, that this is really about something that's really hard to go through, a really hard path to take. And I'm going to start on the Higher Arcana card because I feel like that's talking to me more. And it's really about the patience that's involved in taking your time to sort this out. This is the Wheel of Fortune card, and it's reversed. Now, when a Wheel of Fortune card is reversed, it doesn't necessarily mean bad fortune. What it really means is that it's going to take a time or process to get there. When it's not reversed like this, it means that you're in the process of waiting. When it's like this, it means that you've waited. And so it's like around the corner for you. I really feel like there's this pivotal or climax, or this like going over a hill. You know, you're at the top of the hill ready to see what's on the other side. And that's the impression that I get from that. Okay, you just explained to me that you're going through something that's been an exercise in patience. Exactly. That's exactly this card. That, you know, that you've been through this process of waiting. And so you're at, you know, you're reaching the goal. Now, the two cards beside that I feel like are really interesting because this is the Ten of Pentacles, and the coins are standing out for me for this reading, Janet. So this is about how finances or money or prosperity in some way, and it's reversed, meaning that it's not coming from external family, that there isn't this connection of family, that there could be this either a longing to, if you had someone that could help you for the moment but don't have that, or there's some sort of something like that going on, I feel like, from this card, where there could be people you'd reach out to for help, but they're not there, or that you're having to do this yourself is really the message that seems to be more clear coming out of that. And that you've done the work, you've put in this work, and so now it's just time to reap the reward. And that's really the expectation that this card is representing, and it's being in the position of not reaping the reward. So it's like some people, for this card, some people may feel like they're being taken advantage of, and then they discover that, oh no, it just meant that there was a process, or I had to wait a little longer, or I was being a bit impatient. So just try to know that the journey is worth it, even if it's a hard or struggle. And I see that in the way that the cards have come out, in the way that not only are they reversed, but in the way that they're drawing me from the Higher Arcana into these pentacles. I could see this being a difficult path to be on, but given the cards' messages and the selection of the cards that have come out, I really think that it does lead to a good place. Okay, that would make sense to me if what you just said there about going through most of this on your own. And that also could be a challenge if this is like emotional action that you have to take, and just know that it's important to sometimes have supports around you, even if it's not like somebody can't jump in and help you with the specific situation, but even just someone to talk to, or someone to vent at, you know, get those. Sometimes that can create different perspectives and unique insight. I'm wondering how I can extend on this further. I feel like you're on the pivot of this action that's needed. And so I'm just wondering which deck would be. I'm going to use my Sixth Sense deck. I don't know why, I'm just drawn to it, and this is a Sixth Sense deck, and usually when I'm drawn to it, it's for a reason. So I'm just going to generally draw from this deck and see what messages come out in terms of like what needs to be heard. Now, as I mentioned, with this deck being a Sixth Sense deck, it can often talk about not only what's happening now, but some things that that you need to prepare for. So I'm just going to focus on the reading that's come out in the way that it has, and I'm just going to charge this deck with the intention of what needs to be heard from a sixth sense perspective. So like this, sometimes, a lot of times this card will give messages that just seem like overly, like too coincidental to be coincidence. And the three cards that have come out are fascinating. This spiritual growth that you're on in terms of discovering yourself and who you are, and just shining your power and your influence, and that you're eventually going to be someone that people will look up to for inspiration. And it's like being on the process of building that person. The middle world card talks about the connection that we have. This is the card of the world tree. The middle world card is basically talking about your connection not only with your ancestry and your roots, but also with your spirit and the universe. The middle world is sort of like the in-between, where we have consciousness and we live our lives out. And I feel like this is about that connection, that, and these cards speaking together in the sense of who you are and who you've become and who you will become, and that growth and development as you've gone on this journey. And this is also about healing. This is the Sun card. And again, that it's about development and growth, and I just see that being repeated throughout in the Sixth Sense card. What this is telling me, because it's in the Sixth Sense card, and you may not be aware of this development happening. Possibly you are. If you are aware of this spiritual development or awakening, as they call them, that is happening for you, Janet, keep in mind that you may not be fully aware of the extent that you've developed or learned. If you're unaware, just know that you are going through this process, and that you may not be fully aware of the level of development that you've been through, or that you are going through on this path. So I hope that that makes sense for you. I do see this as being hugely developmental and very healing. 53 in numerology, the numbers on the cards, the 53 in numerology breaks down to an 8, which is all about success. 36 in numerology, it breaks down to a 9, which is like reaching a goal or a final path. And 40 in numerology is all about grounding and security and creating that structure for yourself. So again, it's just more and more confirmation the more I read these cards. So I just saw your message there. If you feel like you're starting over with who you are now, that would make total sense in terms of this development that you're going through. I think that the process of starting over is for you to build the person that you are to become. This person that can be looked up to, that has this huge inspiration that can be offered out, and strength and divinity almost. I really feel like you're on a path headed towards this development, this kind of development. And because when I bring this right back to where you're sitting now in the moment with the King of Cups, taking this emotional action, I feel like you're in the process of getting this going. You know, you're taking the action that's going to propel you forward. If you can propel forward, I really think that this wait time is going to be less. If that makes sense to you, Janet. I do hope that this was helpful. Let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you. I'm sure it has, Janet. I just saw your message there. It certainly does seem like it has been. When I look at especially this card being reversed, that, you know, you've already gone through the process of getting this work done. that the work, it's like it no longer needs to be done. It's just a matter of seeing it through. So I'm just going to clear and thank the decks that I've used. The third card, oh, I just put them away before I saw your message. It was the King of Cups. What were the other two? What you should do, actually, because I was just clearing the decks and clearing my intuition as well, my objectiveness, what you should do, Janet, is look back at the broadcast. I think you can do it during live if you want to look back now, or if you can't, I will be posting this video on my Facebook as well as my website in the previous broadcast section of my website, and I always post the most recent one right on the homepage. So just check it out and just fast forward to an hour and 20 minutes into the video, and you'll see your reading there, and you can review it again. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for letting me do your reading for you, Janet. And Anna, if you're still on the call, if you could just let me know that you're still there. I always will start with a one-card impression pull. And Anna, if you're on the call, just let me know. And if you have a question or topic you'd like me to focus on, or if you want me just to leave it general, as I've explained many times, as you know, general readings usually pinpoint what needs to be heard. So that's a really good strategy in tarot reading. If you have like more than one question you want to ask within a reading, it's better to then, instead of making the reading more complicated by asking several questions, or instead of getting separate readings for each question, one thing you can do is you can ask for a general reading, and whatever's most important will show up on the table. Oh, thank you, Anna, for that. I'm glad that you're here. And if you want to focus on a specific topic or question, or just leave it general, just let me know. And if you've already responded with that, and it's taking a while to come up, just I apologize. I will see your message when it does show. Oh, there it is. General career, obviously. Okay, perfect. I can do that. I don't know why I had a feeling it was going to be about career, but anyways, what I get for you is the Ace of Pentacles. Now, this speaks very well for the career position that you're in, because I feel like you're headed in a new direction. You're starting a new direction or a new path in terms of money or high finances. That's what this card is telling me. Aces are like when we start in a new direction or we get onto a new path, and pages get you in the direction. Aces, you start walking the direction. So this is like a path you've taken a step on, and the path is about finances. So I don't know if this is like if you're thinking about going for a job, or if there's opportunity for you, or you've started some sort of career or something for yourself, but it's definitely starting a new direction in terms of money. Now, I'm just going to focus on a general career reading, and I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we'll just look at how those cards speak to each other or together to get that message. And I'm just going to do a reading on a general career for you. Okay, Anna, now all the cards came out reversed, and this seems to be a pattern tonight. All reversal cards in the reading itself, but I don't feel like these are bad messages. Reversal cards often tweak the message slightly. They don't always mean negative, and I'm going to look at it in the order that they've come out. The first one is this avoiding this no-win situation. If it was this way, it would be like getting into this no-win situation where you feel victorious, or you've won something but you don't feel victorious. So there's like something that you've beaten but there's no winners. When it's reversed like this, it doesn't mean that that's happened. What that means is that you've avoided some no-win situation. So quite often this card comes out this way when I'm reading for someone who's made the right choice for themselves. You've avoided getting into this, where, you know, you took on that battle and turned out to be not as victorious as you had thought. Instead, you avoided getting into that confrontation of some kind. Now, this is the Ten of Swords reversed. This is actually a positive message, even though it looks like a very grim card. When the card shows up this way, it can mean that you're these heavy thoughts, because swords represent heavy thoughts in intellect and tarot, it means that these heavy thoughts are pinning you down. There's so many heavy thoughts and intellect on you that it's pinning you down. When it's reversed, it doesn't mean that that's not happening, but that you're in the process of removing these heavy thoughts. So the more that you remove each heavy thought or intellectual process that's slowing you down, the less you're going to be pinned down. The more you pull these swords out, the less it'll be, the less you'll look like this. You know, eventually you'll get through the process of removing all these heavy thoughts and intellect from you, and you'll be able to get up. Like, you won't be pinned down anymore. And the last card that I want to talk about is the in this reading is the Eight of Cups reversed. What this often means is no longer walking away from your emotions to find more stability or higher ground. Quite often when we walk away from our emotions eventually come back to bite us in the ass. And that's sometimes what this card represents, is you're no longer walking away from those emotions. So either you're confronting emotions that you haven't been acknowledging, or these emotions that you've ignored are now coming back at you and you're going to have to face them. The way that I see this as being a positive reading is because it leads to a good place. I feel like this is like a journey of development where you have to go through this process to get where you're going. And where I also feel like it leads to a good place is because it started from a good place. From avoiding this no-win situation, it may have propelled you into sorting out these heavy thoughts instead of like, if it was this way where you were in this no-win situation, I believe this card would be this way, where you know you can't get these heavy thoughts off your mind to stop it from pinning you down. And then you would have been walking away from your emotions to find higher ground. I feel like you've done something that has reversed these cards to put you in the right direction. Now, given that what I'm getting from this is that something's been done or avoided to put you in the right direction, and you've started this new path in terms of finances, or you've started this new direction in terms of the coin, or in terms of money, I feel like that's maybe where this is related, where whatever you've avoided here has gotten you into this direction. Does that make sense for you, Anna? Now I'm just looking at how to extend on this reading further. I'm wondering if some advice would be helpful if I could look at it from the perspective of my Zen deck. The approach that this deck takes tends to be what we need to hear for ourselves for how we interact with the energies around us. So what's happening in like the situations we're in or involved with other people, or like the interactions of energy around us and how that affects us internally. And so I think this may be helpful to focus on this deck in terms of advice moving forward, because this was on a general career reading, and I feel like you're sorting out this whatever's holding you back. You may have already sorted it out, or you're in the process of sorting that out. And so I'm just going to look at advice in terms of how to interact with the energies around you. I think that might be helpful. And I'm going to keep the focus on career. Okay, and the 3 cards that have come out, one is an action card, and the 2 other ones are like thoughts and intellect. And so I'm going to start at the action and then move into the thoughts and intellect. The action that's explained is the 9 of action. This would be similar to a wand in tarot. I can tell that from the color that appears around the number. And this is what it looks like. And it's about experiencing that exhaustion. It's about having so much going on and so much to do, and it's all just happening around you, and you're just exhausted. And 9 is in numerology is like reaching the end of a path, and so this is like taking action for yourself. What do you need to do for yourself when you feel like this? It's really suggesting to kind of take time to yourself. Make sure that you're separating all that craziness that's going on around you from yourself. And you can see that in terms of the image where this person is compartmentalized around everything else. They've sort of found a space for themselves even though they're exhausted. Now, the next card that's standing out to me is the 4 of intellect, and this is really about postponement. 4 in numerology is about grounding and foundation. And when we mix grounding and foundation with intellect and heavy thoughts, it can often mean that we need to see the bigger picture, that we need to look outside of the box. And that's sort of what's being determined here in the picture, in the image. You can see here that inside the box is color and outside of the box is black and white. Or this person needs to change their viewpoint. And that's really what this is suggesting. It is about finding your grounding by changing your viewpoint. Changing your perspective could help you be more grounded or be more secure in where you're coming from. And then the 10 of intellect, which in this tarot deck is really about rebirth. And so this is really about making a change for yourself. Not changing yourself completely, but having like a rebirth in a sense. Sort of coming to a realization, or coming to terms with something that's already been there and you just haven't realized it yet. I feel like there's something like that, a process that's going on. Perhaps it's connected to these heavy thoughts that you need to work through. It's going to bring this new way of thinking. Now, interestingly enough, this deck is supposed to be for how we interact with the energies around us, and it's really pointing internal. And I find that really fascinating. I feel like what this is really saying is, in order to interact with the energies around you in the best way, you have to take care of yourself. You have to do what's needed for you internally. I really feel like that's connected with this process of, removing those swords from you. I think that's the more important thing. If you can remove these heavy thoughts from you that hold you down, there'd be nothing to stop you. That's the feeling I get from this. I hope that makes sense, Anna. When I look at this reading as a whole, I see a lot of heavy thoughts. The sword and intellect cards are just all heavy thoughts. And there's emotion and there's action involved. And it's the action and emotion that are, I think, important in driving you in this. Okay, thank you for that. And I appreciate the confirmation there that everything makes sense. Perfect. You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me do your reading for you. So I'll just charge and put away the cards and thank these decks for their wisdom. And then Cynthia, if you're still on the call, I'll do your reading next. And then after Cynthia, I'll do Sabrina. And then that'll be all of the free readings for tonight. Again, if anyone was interested to receive a free reading tonight, but you didn't get your message in by the time the readings were capped, still reach out to me. Either let me know in the chat or reach out to me on my website or my email or my Facebook page, letting me know that you're interested in a free reading, and I'll include you in the draw that's happening on August 21st for a chance to win a free remote short reading. Hi, Cynthia. Thank you for waiting. can see that you're there. And so, Cynthia, I'm going to start with a one-card impression pull, and then I will focus on your reading. If you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on, just let me know. Otherwise, I can leave it left general, as I've done many times tonight in previous readings. When readings are left general, the message tends to be, the message that needs to be heard tends to come up on the table. Okay, certainly I will focus on your question. First, I'm going to do a one-card impression pull from this deck, and that's just going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. So, for you, Cynthia, I get the 9 of Cups reversed. Now, I talked about this deck. This card came up on a previous reading. I'm getting a lot of repeat cards tonight, which is really interesting. A lot of those messages are just being hammered home. What this is really saying is, like, if it was this way, it would be like all of your emotions are in check. You know exactly how you feel in the way that I described the card earlier. When it's reversed, I'm getting the sense that you're in that process, that you're putting your emotions together, or you're putting your cups in a row. You're in the process of organizing what this means to you. And I really feel like that there could be when you finish this process, the card will flip around and you'll have all your cups in a row and everything will be in check. So I'm going to focus on your question now with this deck. I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck related to your question of, are you headed in the right direction with your business? So 3 cards have come out. One is a higher arcana card, and I feel like I need to start there. I'm just drawn to it as soon as it came out, and it's the Temperance card. It did not come out reversed, and so this is the way that it looks. And the Temperance card is often about finding a balance. Usually it can represent, like, if you're finding a negative situation, looking for the positive out of that negative situation. Or if it's all been positive, look for the things that you may have not noticed, or things that might hold you back a little, or just finding that balance, finding the neutral center of the conflict or the difficulties that are involved, or the challenge that you're up against. This is a higher arcana card, and so it often represents a more important message in the tarot reading. And I feel like what's standing out in this is the water itself at the bottom of the card. And so I feel like this is more about healing and finding balance in terms of for yourself and what you need for yourself, and some sort of healing that's going on for you. What that can often represent is like the process that you're going through, or the journey that you're taking. Could be a healing journey as you lead to your goal. Now, the next card that came out is the 7 of Cups reversed. And what this often means is no longer being overwhelmed. You may have felt like you were in this position where everything was overwhelming, and these are like emotional overwhelms. And it's like having to sort through each of those cups of overwhelm to not be overwhelmed anymore. And I feel like that's the process you've been doing according to this tarot reading, because when this card is reversed like this, you have this process of finding balance, and then you're no longer overwhelmed by this emotion, by these emotional cups. So what this is telling me is you're in the process of creating that balance, of creating this understanding of what's involved, and no longer being overwhelmed by the amount of emotional options. Now, the next card that I feel like I need to touch base on is the Knight of Swords. Knights in tarot, as I touched on earlier tonight, are really the action takers. They are the ones that enforce the rules that the king and queen have set, that the pages have messaged. The knights are the enforcers. And so swords are heavy thoughts and intellect. So when we get a knight of swords, when you mix heavy thoughts and intellect with forceful action, it can often be an argument, a battle, feeling like you're up against something. And so I feel like that's related to this in terms of the direction that you're headed, or are you headed in the right direction for your business? I think you have to fight for it. I think you feel like in order to be in that direction, it's like you're up against the current in some way. And so finding that balance is going to help with that. I feel like what's being spoken together in these cards for you, Cynthia, is you're in this process of finding balance and working out this overwhelm, and then you're going to be given strength to then, take on this challenge or this battle, whatever this is. I don't get the sense that this is a bad thing, because eventually as you sort through these, how this affects you and makes you feel, you've already sorted through the emotional overwhelm. So I feel like you're at the end of that process of sorting out of what's involved in that. And this card will flip around and you'll be in a much sturdier, positive, strong position to then take on this challenge. Now, I'm wondering how we can extend on this further, given that obviously there's a lot going on with this overwhelm that's being obliviated, for lack of a better way of saying it, getting through that overwhelm and no longer being overwhelmed. This battle that you're heading towards, I think it's just talking about possibly competitiveness or some sort of confrontation, perhaps, in terms of moving forward in your business. I don't know where that's connected. Sure, I think I know what you're talking about in terms of where you're sitting now and working through that emotional process. I think once you're done working through that and you have a better understanding of the emotions that are involved, this card will flip around and you'll be in check. You'll be understanding how all this is going to make you feel before you have to go through all this, like the having that understanding of the emotional process that's involved. I'm not sure what you're up against in terms of the Knight of Swords. I do get a sense that in terms of your business, there could be something that you're up against to move forward on. But as long as you're sorting through that overwhelm and you're creating that balance, I think that's going to be important. If you can sit in your position and create that balance, you'll have the strength to take on that challenge. Now, given that this was about business and that there seems to be something up against, and you seem to be in a position yourself where you're sorting through this overwhelm and you've got your emotions being put in check and you're creating this balance, that it may not be so much about what's happening for you internally, but what's happening around you. And so I'm gonna ask advice from the Zen deck. This is my Zen deck. I did use it earlier tonight, I believe, and it really gives great advice in terms of how we interact with the energies around us. And so I'm going to try and use this deck to look at that, the advice moving forward in terms of the direction of your business. So what's the advice to move forward in the right direction? That's what I'm asking the cards. The cards suddenly started shuffling much more fluidly when I connected with your energy. So I feel like there's confidence there, or there's security there. And the three cards that have come out, two of them are actions, and one of them is similar to a pentacle. So this would be like what you need for yourself in terms of health or finances. And I feel like because this was a business oriented advice pull, that it's more talking about finances than health. And what's standing out for me is the fruit on the tree. This is the ripeness card. 9 in numerology is like when we reach the end of a path. The color behind the 9 tells me that it's about embodiment of what we need for ourselves. And it's really, the picture is telling me that this is really about what you harvest and reaping the reward of what you harvest. And quite often we have to wait until the fruit is ripe before we can reap that reward. And that's really what this is saying. You've put in the hard work. You've grown the tree. Your fruit is growing. And yet you're waiting for it to be ripe. And once it's ripe, you'll be able to pick it and harvest the fruit and reap the reward. But in the meantime, it's ripening, and you're like headed there. And that's what this card represents, is that process it takes to ripen, the ripeness of, you know, reaching the end of the path. Now, what's come out beside that is the 2 of actions. 2 in numerology often represents a choice. It can be a choice between paths to choose from, or it can often be a choice of how we see ourselves connected in the universe. But either way, it brings possibilities. And that's what this card represents, is the possibilities that are at hand. And the reason why it's depicted as an eagle flying high up in the sky is because you're going to have to see the opportunities. You have to take advantage of the opportunities that you see. If you don't look for the opportunities, you won't see them. So you really have to look for the opportunities. And that's what this card is saying. Create possibility. When you think about the image in the card, there's an eagle soaring through the air. When eagles hunt, they can see extraordinarily well. It's like zoom in vision. They can see the smallest prey, like a small mouse, when they're up high in the sky. And they know exactly how they can catch that rodent if they see it. It's like creating the possibility, seeing the opportunity, and that's what's being said here. And then the last card I want to talk about is the Source card. This card often comes up for someone who's connecting with their source. Source can be anything from your spirituality, if you believe in like deity work or God or goddesses, or like universe, connecting with universe, like whatever your source is, where you feel like your source is, or where you come from in your own belief structure. And so I feel like that's connected here. What this is really saying is connect with your source. And given that this was a question about your business, I feel like that's going to help you. If you can connect with your source, that's going to give you the confidence and guidance that you need to move forward in your business. So I feel like the advice that's being said here is, you know, connect with yourself and where you fit in your world. Look for the opportunities. Make sure that you're seeing all of the possibilities that are around you, and be patient, because once the fruit's ripe, you're going to reap the reward. When I look at this reading as a whole, Cynthia, it's definitely hard work that's going to get you there. And the reason why I think that is whatever you're up against here in terms of the Knight of Swords. But as I said earlier, as long as you have that grounding, that confidence, and you can create that balance for yourself, whatever the 2 aspects that need to be balanced are, whether it's, you know, your business versus competition with other businesses, or maybe it's a balance of how you get along with other businesses, or perhaps it's a balance of work and home life. There's some sort of balance that's going on. And even though the card doesn't depict exactly what that balance is, there's definitely, you're definitely balancing it out. Like you're the juggler in all of that, if that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts on that. Sure, I could definitely understand that. That you know, I see the work has already been put in, and that there's this, you know, aggressive direction that it must feel like a lot of work. But just know that with the ripeness card in your suggestion pull, I feel like there's possibilities, or there's advantage to sticking to it. That as I said, you've put in the work, you've grown the tree, the fruit is starting to show up, and you just need to allow it to ripen. Then you can harvest and reap the reward. Does that make sense for you? Let me know if that makes sense, or if you have any questions. I'm just looking to see if any other messages have come up here yet. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for letting me do your reading for you. I will move on to Sabrina next, and that will be the last free reading or the distant reading for tonight. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Cynthia, for that confirmation. I'm glad that this all makes sense. So I'm just going to discharge and thank the decks for their guidance and help tonight. And then Sabrina, if you're still on the call, let me know. I'd love to offer you the last reading of tonight. Thank you for your patience. I do know, Sabrina, that you tried to show interest earlier, and so you probably would have shown up earlier in the list. So I apologize for the wait. Just let me know if you're still there. And I'm also doing readings based on a question or topic if you'd like, or they can be left general. So just let me know as well if you have a specific topic or question. You're welcome, Cynthia. I hope it was helpful. Awesome. Hi, Sabrina. I see your message there. I will definitely give you a general reading. I'm just finishing cleansing and clearing my decks here, and then I will start your reading. Now, I always have been, all night, I've been starting with a one-card impression pull from this deck, and that's just going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And then I'll move to that deck where I'll do a general reading for you. Oh, general love reading. Perfect. Okay, I will definitely do that. So I will focus on the general love reading when I work on that deck. For now, let's see where you're sitting energetically in the moment. Perfect. Okay. So for you, Sabrina, in the moment you're sitting in now, I get the Tower card reversed. I get the sense that you've been through something, or you've avoided something. The Tower, when it looks like this, it can mean like total destruction, like a destructive change where something had to be completely demolished in order to go through the change. And this is not like the Death card where, you know, you have to go through something to end for something new to begin. With the Tower card, it's very different. It's more about structure and foundation being crumbled. So it's really about this destructive change. The change doesn't always have to be bad change, but it's definitely something that had to be crumbled and torn apart and just completely destroyed in order to go through that change. When it's reversed, the way that it's come out for you, it means that you've either already gone through that change, so the change is behind you, or you've avoided that change, where the change was potential and you were like, you know, do what you need to do to avoid that. Let me know which one of those meanings resonate with you most, Sabrina. I do get this intuitive sense that it's the first one, that there's this change that you may have already processed, and you're sort of either in the cusp of it ending or moving on from it. Now I'm going to focus on your general love reading using this deck. I'm just going to do a 3-card pull, and we'll look at how the cards speak together to gain those messages. Okay, thank you for that confirmation, Sabrina, letting me know that it's based on a massive change that you've went through. Now, general love reading. We have a higher arcana and we have 2 cups that have come out. So obviously this is about emotion, and there's this important message that needs to be heard. I'm not going to start there though. I'm being drawn to this side of the cards. And because this was a general love reading, it makes sense to me why I'm drawn to the 2 of Cups. 2 of Cups often represent a partnership. 2 in numerology is like coming together. It's either a choice or a partnership. And when you have an emotional choice or an emotional partnership, it can often mean a partnership. Like coming together with meeting someone else or getting together with them. And it's like an emotional coming together. So this card doesn't always mean like a love interest. It can mean like a partnership in any kind of way that's emotional. So for example, if this was more if your question was based on like a business question on how you were doing with your work and this came up, it would mean that you would probably have this partnership in your work that could materialize because work's important to you, it's emotional, and that's why this card comes up. Now, given that this reading was about general love, I do get the sense that this is more talking about a significant other in the sense of another person. Either there's potential around you, but it may not be like materializing into a love interest just yet. Now, you also have the 7 of Cups, and I talked about this already tonight, whereas when you get this spiritual development with the number 7 in numerology and you have cups of emotion, it can often mean emotional overwhelm. You have so much to sort through emotionally that it becomes overwhelming. And that's what this card is representing. There's this emotional overwhelm that's involved in terms of your love reading. Now, what I love about the important message that's involved in this reading is this card, the Strength card. This often represents somebody who has a huge inner strength inside them, but they don't always realize that it's there. Now, if it was this way, you wouldn't even know this inner strength was there. I think you'd have confidence issues. There would be a lack of trusting yourself. When it's this way, it means you're in tune with that strength. Even if you don't know how strong you are, you know you have strength. And so you can depend on that inner strength. And I think that this speaks highly for you, Sabrina, in terms of this general love reading. This general love reading, you have this strength. So I don't think you have a problem loving yourself. I think that this is more about finding love to come at you from someone else. So your issue is not about you. Sometimes when somebody has trouble meeting someone else or they feel like they're not connecting with other people, it could be because they don't connect with themselves. You have to love yourself before you can love someone else and allow someone else to love you. And I feel like that's what that's saying, that you have that inner strength. Given that you have that inner strength and you're working through this emotional overwhelm, I think the more that you work through these cups that seem emotionally overwhelming, the more confident you're going to feel and the more confident you're going to come across, and that's going to catch the eye of whoever this is. I think you're in the right track. I think you're going through a process right now that's going to lead somewhere good in terms of your love life. In the meantime, though, you have to process what you just went through. Now, because this was a love reading, and I feel like these are pretty connected messages to that, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to ask advice from my heart chakra deck. It gives great advice in terms of what we need for ourselves, and I think that might be helpful looking at it from the perspective of your general love reading and what you need for yourself in terms of this emotional overwhelm and this potential partnership. Also, given that where you're sitting now emotionally in the moment, what you've been through and that still working that out. cards are telling me to stop. So I'm going to listen. So 3 cards have come out for this advice. The one in the middle is the higher arcana. It's a more important message, and I'm being drawn to it, so I'm going to start there. And it's bookended, or it's not bookended, but it's surrounded by heavy thoughts and action. And the card that's come out that I need to start with is the flow card. 10 in numerology is like a cycle that, you know, when you reach a goal and it's developmentally it creates developmental growth. It's like restarting a path or getting into a new direction based on where you ended up. The goal leads you into something new. And this is like going with the flow. If it was this way, it'd be like go against the current. But because it's this way, it's like go with the flow. I think the more important message in this, in terms of your love reading, is to go with the flow. Allow things to happen. Don't hold back. Hold yourself back or prevent things from continuing. Go with the flow. Now, I'm going to move to this card next because I feel like it's important. It's the 8 of actions in this tarot structure of this deck, and it's dedicated effort reversed. And normally if the card was like this and it wasn't reversed, this is how it would look. And it's really about putting in all the hard work, the dedication that's involved. When it's reversed, I don't think it's your dedication that's needed. It's the dedication of someone else. And I think that's really what you're looking for, is someone else to be dedicated because you're ready for that. And that leads me to here. The 6 of emotion, or the 6 of thoughts and intellect often leads to where the healing begins. I think if you can go with the flow and know that the effort isn't on you and that you can be confident, I think that's when the healing is going to begin. So you're at the beginning of this healing process. That makes sense to me, because if you're at the beginning of this healing process, it's probably because you went through this destructive change. So this destructive change has brought forth required and needed healing. Now, in this advice, I'm brought right back to your strength card. You have the strength inside to do this. I really feel like you just need to feel confident and notice as well that the advice towards your general love reading is to allow the healing, to go with the flow, and it's not your dedicated effort, it's theirs. So I feel like in terms of what you need to do for yourself is just to take care of yourself, and things will materialize. Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate that message of confirmation there, just letting me know that this is very accurate. Hello, Michelle. Thank you for your message. Welcome. Thank you for watching all the way from Calgary, Alberta. Appreciate that. So let me know your thoughts on this, Michelle, before I put the cards away. I do hope that it was helpful. I really think that from what you've been through, according to the way the cards describe it here, from what you've been through, I think you're now headed in a direction. I think that it's really your choice on how you move forward with your love life, like in general love, with this general love reading. But just know that there's potential somewhere. Just looking for any other messages here. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's really the goal, right? And I think these 2 cards are important in that, Sabrina. If I can pick them up. There we go. The healing and the flow. Going with your flow. Notice how he's going like this, right, in the image. He's feeling his own and allowing himself to embrace what the flow of the water is for himself. And I think as long as you're doing you and you focus on you in this journey that you're on, you'll be fine, because you're not the one that has to put in the dedicated effort. So I think finding that potential partner. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for letting me do your reading for you. I do hope that this was helpful. I'm going to just decharge and put away the decks. And thank you to everyone who received readings tonight. I really appreciate that, and everyone who's come to watch the live. I know that there was a lot of people watching me tonight. I have trouble seeing how many people are there because I do this from a phone. The screen's small and only allows so much information. So I can't see like the list of people that are watching. I can only see who's watching based on who has responded in the chat. So I really appreciate everyone who's come to watch. And this recording will be posted on my website later tonight. I have to download it and post it, and then it'll be available to watch after. On my Facebook page does keep the recordings, but some of the recordings have been deleted, either due to some sort of Facebook rule that I didn't catch, or that they have also started a new policy on Facebook, I guess, where they only keep the live broadcasts posted for a certain number of days, and I couldn't see any other option to keep it longer than that. So I am downloading them and posting them to my website. They do stay on my website for the amount of time that I put them there. So the website is always the most accurate and secure place to get information, or if you want to watch the broadcast, or anything regarding Stafford Tarot. So thank you so much for joining me for this month's Tarot Talk. The next Tarot Talk topic will be in my intuitive reading style. I'm going to talk about that a little more and how it's different from the more standard structured style of reading, and how I incorporate and mix those symbolic, traditional, and intuitive reading styles together into one form. That's going to be happening on Tuesday, September 12th at 8 p.m., similar to tonight. If you're in another province like Alberta, it'll happen at 6 o'clock p.m., 5 o'clock Pacific time. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And all you have to do is go to my Facebook page. If you got involved tonight, you already know. But if you're watching this from my website and you want to join the next Tarot Talk Live event, you just go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/bryantarotreading, and it'll bring you to the Stafford Tarot Facebook page. And when I go live, there'll be an event posting. You click on that and you'll automatically join, and you can interact with me through the chat, and that's how I know you're interested to receive the free readings. So thank you so much for those who did receive free readings tonight. I really enjoy these live broadcasts just because of the interaction, and I really enjoy seeing the help and the closure that gets created from offering the free readings. If anyone has any questions whatsoever at any time, I am totally reachable through my website, staffordtarot.com, as well as through my Facebook and my email, bryantarotreading@gmail.com. And anyone who wants to book with me, you just get a hold of me, let me know, and we'll make those arrangements. I can be reached through, like I said, website, email, or even my phone number, 519-835-1749. So thank you so much. Take good care, everyone, and I look forward to the next event happening in September. Bye for now.